Okay, so as you can see in our notebook, we are going to take some notes and write some things down about percent. We talked about percent yesterday. You should be writing down what you see right now onto your notebook. It says 4.1, percents and fractions. What does the word cent mean? Cent means 100. Percent means per 100. We did a little practice knowing that a percent always goes over 100. So, if I would give you this percent, and we're going to write it down here, 60%, and I would like for you to change it to, so we'll label this percent, and we're going to change our percent to a fraction. We're going to take the percent, and we know percent is always per 100, and so we would put 60 over 100. After we put our 60 over 100, then we would look at it and we would think to simplify it. Sometimes they will simplify, sometimes they will not. That's where you will look at your factor sheet. You can continue to divide by 2. Some of us might do the little trick where we will cancel out our zeros like this. Now we have 6 over 10. I know that they both can be divided by 2, which gives me a final answer of 3/5. 60% as a fraction is equal to, as a fraction is 3/5. Let's see if I can get my lighting here a little bit better for you guys. All right, well, let's try another one. What if I would give you 35%? Well, we just learned percent goes over 100. There's our fraction. We can simplify it. Most of you know in your head that they both can be divided by 5, which means my answer would be 7/20. That's the answer I would be looking for. Sometimes we can get large percents, 174%. Seems a little ridiculous, but there can be percents that are over 100. Well, we still do the same thing. Percent goes over 100. And we will simplify. Let's see, what could we simplify this by? Well, let's go ahead and divide them both by 2 because I know that they're both even. 174 divided by 2 is 87. 100 divided by 2 is 50. If you look on your factor sheet, this is as small as it can go. I don't know why. There we go. This is as small as it can go. You could leave it like this because it's simplified, or you could change it to a mixed number, and the mixed number would be 1 and 37 over 50. Either answer is acceptable. All right. Let me give you one, and then I want you to go ahead and solve it for me real quick, and then you can look on your screen to see what the correct answer is. Would you please take 76% and write it as a fraction? All right, hopefully you did 76 over 100. I know that these are both even, but I also know if I look at my factor sheet, I can actually divide them by 4, which is a little bit larger than 2. You could have done 2. You would have had to do it twice. 76 divided by 4 equals 19, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. Final answer. Now, unfortunately, there are going to be times where you're going to get percents that are going to be decimals. So, for example, I might give you a decimal fraction that looks like, let's say this here. we would do the same thing. We would take our percent, and we know that it goes over 100. Now the problem is we're looking at a problem that has a decimal and a fraction all in one answer, and we can't do a decimal and a fraction in one answer. So we're going to get rid of this decimal on top, and in order to get rid of it, we're going to move it 2 times. Whatever I do on the top, I need to do on the bottom, which means I'm going to have to add 2 zeros. So now I have a new fraction of 8 over 10,000. Now, of course, we're going to have to simplify that. So we're going to think about what it is we could divide into 8 and 10,000. Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that 8 can actually go into both of them. 8 goes into 8 once, and 8 goes into 10,000, 1,250. You could get to this answer by dividing these both by 2, dividing by 2 again, dividing by 2, and eventually you would get to your simplified answer. All right, so let's try one more decimal one. One more decimal one. Let's give you the decimal. I think we might have done this one in class, but let's go ahead and try this one. All right, go ahead and see if you can solve that in your notebook. If you look on the screen, I took my percent, I wrote it over 100. I can't have a decimal and a fraction combined. Move my decimal 2 times, so I have to move my decimal 2 times down here, which gives me a fraction of 25 over 10,000 again. Let's see. I think I can divide these both by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 25 divided by 10,000, or 10,000 divided by 25. 400. All right. Well, now we're going to do a couple more things in our notes, and then we will stop. All right. The other thing I'd like for you to put in your notes is taking a fraction and being able to change it to a percent. So for example, if I give you the fraction 3 over 50, what would that be as a percent? Well, in class, what we did was we know that a fraction always has to go over 100. Now we know how to solve these kind of proportions. We can either do 50 times 2 down here and times 2 up here. Some of you like to do the cross multiply and divide. Whichever way works best for you, you will find out 3 times 2 is 6. When I ask for percent, I do not want it written as a fraction like this. You have to write it as 6%. Okay, so if I would give you, how about this one here? Let's do 19 over 20. What would that be as a percent? Well, percent goes over 100. 20 times 5 is 100. So what would 19 times 5 be? Some of you are here on the side solving that for me. All right, so you see it's 95. Remember, you have to write it a percent like this. You might see something where the teacher might give you a fraction like this and say change that to a percent. Well, in order to change a mixed number, I would do 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. I would make a new fraction of 3 over 2 equals a percent over 100. Ooh, I know my percent's going to be bigger than 100. Why? Because my numerator is bigger than my denominator, which means my numerator is going to be bigger over here. I know that this is times 50, and 3 times 50, most of you know, is 150. So my percent is 150. All right, last one I would like for you to put in your notes. Last one. We'll lift my notebook up here a little bit. Sometimes you might get a fraction, and this won't happen very often, but you might get a fraction where you have the number larger than 100. Larger than 100. I still like to set my problem up like this because I still know that percent has to go over 100. Okay. I'm going to, probably on this one, to make it easier, is I'm going to cross multiply, which is 900. I have to divide it by 1,000. Well, I can't do that unless I put a decimal here to add a 0. 1,000 goes into 9,000. 9 times. So my answer is 0.9. Now, if I look at this, we're like, well, that can't be written like that. You're right. I don't want it as a fraction. I want it as the percent like this. Sometimes people put a 0 in front. You can do that, or you can leave it blank. All right. That's the rest of the notes I'd like for you to put in your notebook today.